Winning fixes everything. The Guardians have had two of their biggest wins of the season this week. And on Thursday, they won a game they probably didn't deserve. But that can get you kicked in the right direction. We'll talk about it on today's Locked On Guardians.
You are Locked On Guardians, your daily podcast on the Cleveland Guardians. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You know, I would say the Guardians didn't deserve to win the game on Thursday against the Chicago White Sox, but you know what? They had a chance to win the game in the ninth inning. They had a chance to walk it off. So I guess if you have a chance to win the game in the ninth inning, you did enough to hang around, and that's what the Guardians did. The White Sox maybe out-mistake them. We'll get into some of that on today's Locked On Guardians. We'll talk about draft and trade targets. We'll probably stick mostly to draft later in the show. We'll talk about some decisions that the Guardians ultimately overcame from manager Stephen Vogt. We'll talk about Cooper Ingle in left field because it's been a couple of
an adventure.
It's been an adventure. We have to start with the show though with the winning that fixes everything. A walk-off home run by Brayan Rocchio. Before we get into all that, today's episode brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. Biggest stage in the world soccer is happening right now. Let there be goals on FanDuel. Visit FanDuel.com right now to get started. That's Jeff Ellis and the Rally Dino hanging out with you on the other side of the mic in the video, who's been the host of the show for 8 years. I'm Justin Lada, and I've been here with Jeff for the last 4 years. We've both been covering the Guardians minor league system for 19 years. Now that that's all out of the way, Jeff, winning fixes everything, right? I was at the game, and people I was with was talking about, man, what a fun game that was. I was like, I don't know if I'd call it fun. Like, it was a back and forth game, but this adds to the thing I said earlier in the week when they beat the Rangers on Wednesday. I said it was frustrating how the Guardians won on Wednesday because not because they played badly, but because they won in a fashion where it's like, okay, I know they can do this. I know they have this capability. And same here on Thursday. It's frustrating because like they made some pretty silly mistakes both on the field and from the dugout, and they still won the game, which tells you they still have the talent. They can still do it. They just aren't being very consistent. That's what's frustrating. So fun win. I don't know if I'd call the game a fun game, but it was a fun win in the ninth inning. But, you know, I don't know. Where do you fall? Do you think that this is a game the Guardians didn't deserve to win, or because they were only down 1 in the ninth, they had a chance to win, they hung around? Like, maybe you deserve to win because you hung around with a chance to win in the ninth inning.
I mean, I think they deserve to win. They got on base at a much higher rate than the White Sox. They just had some bad luck, some bad breaks. It's little things here or there. It's, you know, DeLauder leaving a second too early in the first inning. Otherwise, they get a run across in that. It's Gabriel Arias had the highest expected batting average not fall in. Like the top highest expected batting averages all were hits except for Arias, where Cosa Montgomery made that fantastic play. Otherwise, that's another run. Like they had a lot of pathways there. They had 9 walks. And I think my favorite stat of this game is they had 9 walks and none of those walks scored. None of those walks came back to haunt the White Sox until the final one. And that final one was the tire for the game winner. So 8 walks, nothing. And then, you know, we always I get so nervous because it feels like every time this team walks someone that they end up, you know, that runaway scores. Yeah. And, you know, it's nice to see the walks back. That pushed out Martin, who I just sang his praises yesterday. Who's pitching tomorrow? I need to sing his praises right now. But, you know, the Sean Newcomb's been tough all year. They got to him.
Anthony K, another lefty.
Anthony K, who ripped him a new one last time. So, like, you know, hopefully they can do better there. And then Grant Taylor, it's the second time they've gotten to this guy who's been a borderline all-star. They played the dangerous game like Vogt is done. I almost said like Tito there, like Vogt is done. But trying to have your best reliever go multiple innings. And, you know, that's a guy who's had some command issues, and it came back to haunt him here. But they got to, I mean, Newcomb and Taylor are arguably their 2 best relievers with Hudson, and they touched them both up. And they got the starter, who is their ace all-star starter, out in the 4th inning. Like, the runs didn't come, but they did a lot of work, and the runs eventually came, and they did enough. I think they definitely deserve to win. You know, we'll talk about all the silliness in the field and some of the silly decisions, but I think they did enough to win. You know, great games, obviously, Rocchio with the huge hit, but, you know, Bazzana was on base 4 times in this one. Patrick Bailey.
He was 13 before that, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, he'd been struggling. Patrick Bailey had their only other extra base. I'm sorry. Outside of Bazzana and Rocchio, Bailey had the only extra, and Fry, I forgot, you know, early on, it was extra base hits. But but he had 2 hits. Like Bailey's been doing a little bit here and there. He's stepping up for the team. I mean, everyone reached base, but everyone reached base. There's no buts. Everyone reached base in this game. Everyone contributed. Full team effort. Technically, I guess Cooper Ingle didn't, but then Fry replaced him and got a hit there. So Ingle was the only guy who didn't really pitch into the winning effort.
Poor Cooper Ingle. We'll get to that, but yeah, man, I feel for that guy right now. I do. So I do. You've kind of convinced me a little bit. Like they did a lot of sloppy stuff in this game, decision wise, defense wise. There's a lot of sloppy things. Base running was not great. But you're right. They Davis Martin didn't have good control, and they were patient. They got him out of the game, and that's huge because this is a big 4-game series. The two teams now are tied by percentage points, and this has a chance to vault the Guardians back into first place after some struggles since they lost their key guys and went on the road.
Heart. They lost their heart.
Yeah, head in the heart. They worked 5 walks, getting into the White Sox bullpen, which has been a good bullpen this year. They've had some struggles, but they have a pretty solid bullpen overall. You knocked Davis Martin out in the 4th inning. Who are we saying he's for sure their best starter? I think he is. Yeah,
he is far and away. He's their best starter. It's not a really close conversation.
You got him out of the game early because he was struggling. He had 11 base.
They always do better against the good ones.
I know.
That's a weird thing this year.
Yeah, I can't hit Chris Paddock, but hey, we scored 2 runs off Jacob deGrom, and we got 2 runs off Davis Martin. But yeah, you knocked him out of the game early. You got into the White Sox bullpen early, which is big in a 4-game series, especially against the White Sox. And it's hot, and it's the end of the first half, and everyone's ready for a break, and that's a big thing to do. And you hit Grant Taylor again for the second time, and Sir Anthony Dominguez has not been good this year. Trust me, again, I know he's on my fantasy team. He's bad. You didn't see him, but that was probably a thing by Will Venable. Didn't want to use Sir Anthony Dominguez because he doesn't trust him. I don't know if Dominguez pitched the other day where maybe he was unavailable, but it's a choice to go to Grant Taylor for 2 innings rather than go. Dominguez hasn't pitched since Sunday, so he was available. Interesting.
I think they just didn't trust him.
Yeah, I know. A lot of White Sox fans were upset with not going to Brian Hudson late in the game because he only threw 10 pitches on Wednesday, so he should have been available unless something was going on there.
He's part of their big 3.
Yeah, and they used all their lefties. Chris Murphy followed Martin. They brought in Isert to use Sean Newcomb, which, again, you're just going to keep seeing teams throw lefties at the Guardians, and we'll talk about that more as we get into more trade talk stuff. But, yeah, I mean, you knocked them out early. You overcame the mistakes. So all the mistakes that did happen in this game, whether they were on the field, Jeff, or by Stephen Vogt, does winning paper over all that? Are you willing to say, like, okay, you made mistakes and you still won a game? So I feel pretty good about that. And you're willing to overlook all that, Joe?
No, not at all.
No? Okay.
No, because, unfortunately, let's start with Vogt.
Some good things did happen, though. Like you said, they
did.
knocked Davis out early.
That's why, I'll give him credit. I still think pulling Manzardo for Hoskins is a poor choice. Hoskins struck out. I know he had the walk in the 9th, but Manzardo had 2 walks in this game. There's a good chance he walks in the 9th as far as those pitches were off. Yeah. And with Manzardo being a lefty and Taylor being a righty. And then there's leaving, then the positive is, bringing in David Fry, who hits the home run, who I was blasting to be cut last week. He's got 2 home runs since then. So I don't know anything. And then
you are really good reverse Jakes, man.
I am.
Davis Martin, David Fry.
Tim Herron, I've been harping on. I've been talking about, hey, maybe Daniel Espino, because he can't pitch more than an inning, should go down for Alamon, because Alamon's been so good. What a performance by Espino in this one. I've been harping on Armstrong, and Armstrong went 2 innings when you count the missed throws by Gabby. We'll talk about that. And then, of course, Cooper Ingle. It's rough with Ingle. Everything that can go wrong will go wrong for this kid so far.
So Cooper Ingle's hitting a grand slam this weekend, is what Jeff said.
I mean, the problem is Cooper Ingle's average exit velocity is 95 miles an hour right now as well. He's not making good quality contact. The bat.
Jeff Ellis's exit velocity of reverse Jinx is 1 million.
So. Oh, hopefully, that's what we're hoping for. I mean, I don't. And the crazy thing too, it's the first misplay he had, was him not knowing left field. Then he forgets the outs. Then he forgets how to close his glove properly. It's just errors you don't see often. And then he just comes up and has weak contact at the plate, and when they've got runners on, and he's got to move down the batting lineup. And the other killer for him right now is DeLauder's got to spend a lot of time at DH, and you also have Reese Hoskins, who's got to spend a lot of time at DH. And right now, Cooper Ingle's best position is DH.
I could think other places Rhys Hoskins could be.
Yeah, I mean, again, I'm gonna lay off Rhys Hoskins because he had a nice pick off of the bat throw by Gabby, and he walked. So Rhys Hoskins gets a day off.
No,
but it's like that. And then Gabby, where are we on time? Why don't we talk about Gabby and Rocchio when we get back from the break? I think,
we'll talk about some. Yeah, we'll talk about the mistakes, the good stuff. We'll talk about Vogt. We'll talk more about Cooper. We'll talk more about draft picks. We're going to keep diving into the draft as we get closer. We are officially 8 days away, Jeff. 8 days from the draft.
I'm almost 60 profiles. I'm going to write 5. I've got 6 guys down tonight. I'm getting there.
Well, I know we're 8 days from the draft. We surprisingly probably aren't that far from thinking about back to school, as crazy as that sounds. But a thank you to our friends over at Amazon for the limited break. Back to school season, you want to spend less on your kids with Amazon. Everybody knows that back to school shopping is crazy. The experience is crazy. You start with a couple items on the list. All of a sudden, you've got supplies, clothes, lunch stuff, tech gear, more tech than you ever need. And then 10 things you didn't see coming can add up very, very fast. I know firsthand. Jeff's a teacher. My wife's a teacher. I know how much supplies add up. I know how much teachers pay out of their pocket for classroom supplies. You got calculators, right? You find yourself asking, how a calculator become one of the more expensive things in your cart? You don't expect math to start costing you money before school begins. There's probably a life lesson in there. Are you still trying to figure that out? Because we know math isn't my strong suit. But the teacher supply list includes a lot because teachers spend a lot on their own classrooms too. So you want to spend less on your kids with Amazon. Spend less on your kids. That's actually a good thing. So remember, with Amazon, low back-to-school prices. Spend less on your kids. Every dollar you don't spend on them is a dollar you haven't spent on them. Shop back to school at Amazon and spend less on your kids. And I appreciate everybody for making Locked On Guardians your first listen today and every day, wherever it is that you get your podcast. If you would like to get ad-free episodes of Locked On Guardians, as well as talking about the games, whether they're frustrating, whether they're fun, all the good fun stuff that happens in these games, you can check out the private listener Discord that comes with your everyday or club subscription. And Jeff and I are there. Other listeners of the show who are Guardians fans are there. And there's a channel for every Locked On show that you can think of out there. So if you got other teams you're interested in, you can hang out over there as well. Go to LockedOnGuardians.com or LockedOnGuardians.supercast.com or check the link in your show notes. Looked like you were going to get ready to say something there, Jeff. What do you got?
Well, I was going to say, before I dive into the main thing.
Back to school's too soon.
I was making obscene gestures that no one could see when we were doing that. I was very careful to do it.
Don't play in the messenger. Hey, we're getting a paycheck out of this. You know what?
But we didn't do your random guys. So I was going to say Cesar Hernandez, Minnie Minoso.
Throw
an old one.
Yeah.
Those are names that came to mind. I'm sure there's so many others that I'm completely blanking on.
Guardian and White.
Jack McDowell, Black Jack McDowell, one of those many great free agent signings in this team.
Jack McDowell. Who was Sandy Alomar played for the White Sox. That's not really random. He played for the White Sox.
Did Omar play there at some point?
Omar played for the White Sox. Bartolo Colon was a White Sox, I believe.
Did Tomey ever? No, Tomey was Cubs. Didn't he end up
Tomey was
White Sox.
Tomey,
yeah, he was White Sox. Yeah. Albert Bell. I mean, all of our power hitters apparently went there except for Ramirez.
Albert Bell, yeah.
Ramirez never played there, right? He didn't, the end of his career after Boston. I'm not sure where he tried to go. But
Manny was there, yeah.
He was. So it is all of our 90s power hitters went to the White Sox.
Yeah.
Now that I've been laughing, it's the perfect time to switch gears into something not funny. If you watch the game,
Jeff, I got one. I got to go to
okay, I'll stop.
Zach Collins.
And it's
Collins.
That's a funny one because for how long the White Sox fans were annoyed they didn't take Gavin Lux, and Gavin Lux turned into nothing anyway, so it didn't really matter in the end.
Who is the catcher? There's a catcher I'm thinking of. You can go on with your thing. I'll think of the catcher. You go on with your thing. Of random.
I mean, for a while there, Cleveland had so many catchers that bounced around the league. They drafted so many guys.
Collins was one of them. But go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
But so if you listen to the game, you heard Rocchio talk about the devastation that's going on in Venezuela. And I think it's worth pointing out with both Rocchio and Arias right now that neither of them can be fully focused on baseball. Brayan Rocchio grew up in Caracas, which is to the east, but still in the earthquake zone. It is a big city with good contact. Where Gabby grew up was a smaller town to the west of there, closer to like the epicenter in the worst parts. So for both of these players right now, I mean, I know he had the 2 bad throws and Kwan bailed him out, but they also don't win if he doesn't score his run. So like, Gabby contributed still. I couldn't help but watch those throws in the 9th and think, or the 8th. No, it was the 9th, right? When he made the 2 bad throws and wonder was it the 8th?
Yeah.
Like I just couldn't, I wonder where his mindset is. Like I do wonder for both those players right now. And Rocchio, you could tell, was getting emotional about what's going on there. And it's a scary situation. I mean, there's probably family they still haven't been able to get in contact with because infrastructure's down. So it doesn't have anything to directly do with baseball, but I just want to remind everyone that like baseball players are people and there's a scary thing going on. And for those 2 players, like huge hit for Rocchio. Gabby had a defensive game to forget for sure. I mean, he Kwan bailed him out and then Hoskins bailed him out. But at the end of the day, I just wish the best for those 2 players and their families.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I know Rocchio. After I was scooting out of the stadium after the walk-off, after I recorded my video, I was in shock they won that game. So my video was just absolutely off the rails because I didn't know how to react to that. But I know you said that Rocchio did the interview with Andre after the game and was
he brought it up himself, and you could tell there was emotion behind it.
Yeah. Big hit for him. Yeah. And that's unbelievable. Rocchio's been a clutch player. Like without a doubt, he's been one of the most clutch players, and he's been all over the lineup since the injury. He was doing the injuries. Like he's been so good in the 9-hole, and they tried him at 2 and 3, and now he's at 5 just because, they're trying to find the right lineup right now with all the guys that have been out. So it's been a miracle. He made some good plays too. He had a great throw from the hole that he bounced to Hoskins. Like it was a good bounce. The defense in this game, I know Gabby and Ingle, we'll talk about Ingle, but like Stephen Kwan, man, that catch in center field late in the game.
I made Kwan one of the 3 stars, reach base 3 times, and he had that throw.
Yeah, he had 2 walks and a hit, and then he had the throw. The throw bailed out Gabby. I mean, without that throw, they probably lose this game, or I guess maybe tied. Maybe they're still playing. So Rocchio was good, and Kwan was really good defensively as well. And then Hoskins had to save Gabby on the 1 throw, but yeah, it's unfound, man. I think you're right. Like there must be something going on there because like Arias is too good of a defender for that to happen. Like his arm is his best tool, and he's a great infielder in general. So it's just bizarre. Like that's the third. He's had 2 throws in this game, and then third one earlier this week that just made absolutely no sense. So very weird one. Should we talk about Cooper Ingle real quickly?
Yeah. Well, we also got to point out, because we didn't really say it, like we didn't really get all into the vote of it because we didn't really talk about how crazy it is that he left Ciccone in after Ciccone
for the 6th inning. Oh my God!
Especially with the heat. Like, why are you leaving out?
He was over 90. Yeah. The only thing I can think of for him going out for the 6th inning was it's a 4-game series, which is why the White Sox, I think, also might have used
Taylor and Newcomb for multiple innings. But like, I get that. But you can also, like I said, it's. I love Espino, but Espino can't now pitch the rest of this series anyways. Like you might be looking to send him down for Oman if things get bad. Like, they still had to burn a guy who probably can't pitch until, Espino's not pitching before Thursday or Sunday. You're right. I'm sorry. Yeah. The 4th game of the series. I forget what day of the week it is during the summer, but like, he's not pitching again till Sunday. So it's like,
it was risky to even ask him for 6 outs. He tried to get 6 outs out of him. He got 5, and Espino was great, which is good.
And Armstrong was great, but it's like, how do you leave Slade out in this heat? Like, of all the times to have your pitcher go 100 pitches, which he's not let anyone do. Like, this is the game. Yeah. This is the game.
And then Manzardo hits a 2-run homer off DeGrom, and then he has the 2 walks tonight. He pinch hits for him. It's just like, why is Manzardo has literally until Chase Slaughter came off the IL, Manzardo was your best hitter. He should not be on the lineup at all. Like Rhys Hoskins to me is just like, I think you get to the deadline if you can try to find someone to replace his presence in the lineup. I would move on from him. I'd still send Fry back to AAA when Jose comes back. I know we had 2 good days in a row, but let's be honest. I think Fry just probably saved his job with these last 2 days.
He's a streaky guy. Same thing as Schneemann. Like I would have, I like to see Schneemann out there because he's riding the hot wave. It's same thing happens with Fry. Fry is like Schneemann. He's like Martinez. The Cooper Ingle of it all. It's a bad look.
We'll get into that. We'll get into the Cooper Ingle stuff. Then we got to get into more draft stuff because we are, Jeff, how many days away from the draft are we?
52.
All right. Jeff is just trying to cope with that statement there, and we'll leave it at that. Well, I had an all-time nonsensical reaction video because I literally recorded the reaction video to the Guardians walk-off win like seconds after it happened. Got some fans in there, got my wife in there and myself, and just went absolutely nuts because I was stunned. Because I thought at the time, I said, the Guardians deserve to win this game. Now, Jeff has kind of turned me on that one, so maybe they have. But you could have been notified of that video going live when it did if you hit the bell on YouTube after you subscribe, so you get notified of videos like that on all of our regular episodes. And we'd love it if you auto-downloaded on all of your audio platforms because that keeps the show in your feed. It's a great way to support the show. We could use a new Apple Podcast review. We haven't had one since May, so if you're I know we've had a couple of YouTubers, YouTube commenters recently said they just found the show. So if you want to head over to Apple Podcasts, leave a review, we'd appreciate that because that helps people find the show. Also, shout out to Jason, who was walking up to bleachers tonight, recognized me instantly and said hi. So shout out to Jason. There was somebody a couple rows back of us too, I know, came up and said hi, recognized the listener to the show. I didn't get the name, sorry, but appreciate that. Anybody who says hi at the game says they listen, we definitely appreciate that. So yeah, Cooper Ingle. Here we had a long text back and forth about this when it was happening. We definitely disagreed on it. Again, this is a case to me where multiple things can be true at once. I still think the Guardians, this is the same thing I said the other day and doesn't change. The Guardians should have done a better job of having him in left field more often in the minors because it was very clear he was never going to catch for them. They were trying to keep his value up because of the catching stuff. I don't really know. He should have been playing left field more in AAA. What did he get? 6 games, I think, down there before he got called up. And I know he played a little bit in college, but that was 4 years ago. And maybe he's not a good left fielder, so there is that. But I think the Guardians could have done a better job preparing him for that role. And you got to know how many outs there are, and you got to close the glove. Like, I don't know what happened there. So, again, those 2 plays specifically for Cooper, he has to do a better job, but the Guardians also could have done a better job preparing him at the same time in the minors. And I think both those things can be true at once. And I know he's struggling offensively. I still am not saying you send him down because I think he's still, like, it's only been a week or whatever, like 10 days at this point. I don't think that sends a good message sending him down. And I know you had come back and said, well, they sent Juan Brito down pretty quickly. Yes, because he had Travis Bazzana. There is no Travis Bazzana behind Cooper Ingle in AAA. Like, it's Kefis or Valera, or it's calling Halpin back up, or it's moving Tashima to the outfield, and you're calling up, Milan Tolentino to be your utility.
Or it's calling up Janau and putting him at third and making Gabby your backup infielder and having Schneemann play left field.
Okay, you could twist my arm on that a little bit. Although we were looking at the data the other day on Hanau, and
he's playing better of late. I got to really
it's a lot of ground balls, though.
It is. That's the problem.
I'm a little bit nervous, yeah.
But you would upgrade your overall defense that way, and that's my biggest problem. It's like the same reason I was really rough on Brito is because, like, when your defense is
we
poor,
knew his defense was going to be bad.
I know, but when your defense is poor, then you don't bring anything. It's like, why was I like okay when Watson was over 10 with 7 strikeouts? Because the defense is there, like, and speed is there. Ingle is pretty immobile. And then, like, on top of that, like, yes, it's poor at bats, but like when Watson would get into something, he'd hit him hard. Mm-hmm. Ingle's doing all the things we were afraid of. Like, he's letting balls on the corners that he can't do anything with it, but he's just watching them go by. And then his contact has been really, really poor in terms of weak. And it's like, that's the issue. That's always been the concern with him based on what he's done in the minors. There's a lot.
At that 3-0 pitch after the 4-pitch walk.
Oh, it was the first pitch of the at bat. Yeah, it was the down the middle one.
Yeah, you can't. I mean, you can't swing at that pitch. You just can't.
Yeah, you got to.
But again, I still wouldn't set him down because I think it sends the wrong message. And even if you're talking about Hanal, like I don't know, I still wouldn't do it. I think he's not quite ready either. And
it's hard because he can't bring anything. Of course, all of this is funny because if you go and you look at his Savant page, his hard hit percentage is super high, as is his average exit velo, as is his walk rate. So, but it's a very small sample, and it doesn't count today's games. It was just the 14 at bats before today, so I'm sure it'll shift.
If it's on Savant, it's updated automatically. So it's
so. There. Well, I guess he was hitting the ball hard early on. So, but everything else is pretty ugly. It's hard because he's not ready defensively, right? He's not ready.
You didn't call him up for his defense.
I know, but when a guy,
you got to live when you make that decision. You got to live with it. You just do.
I don't know. I think sometimes
I don't want to see Petey Halpin. I don't want to see George Valera. I don't want to see CJ Kafis.
I don't know. I don't know what the option is. I got to be honest.
The option is you get Angel Martinez back. You ride this out until Martinez comes back, and hopefully Ingle gets better.
I mean, you can't get worse, right? That's the way to look at it.
I didn't think after he made the mistake of throwing the ball out of play the other day it would get worse, but this one luckily didn't cost him any runs because Slade Ciccone and the defense bailed him out. So that's good though. That one did cost him runs, although Sean Armstrong also bailed him out. So again, I feel for Cooper because it's just
mistakes. Hard. I mean, he didn't get he didn't get the time he needed at the position. He's got thrown into kind of an untenable situation, and then his defense has put him behind. Like, I mean, he is easily the most hated guy on Twitter right now for this team. If you looked at the tweets, it's him. No, it's not. It's still Arias, but then it's
still Arias.
It's still Arias.
Yeah. I just think it sends a bad message if you were to send him back to AAA, because that says oh, you made mistakes, so guess what, you're going to AAA. You're not. That sends the message that okay, you're not allowed to make mistakes.
And he's made two pretty bad ones. Is the issue.
But again, he's not up here for his defense. You never called him up thinking he was going to help you defensively. He was.
But you didn't expect him to make two minor league errors. Is the other side
okay? I can expect. I can expect the first ball that he didn't get to.
Yes, agreed. That's not on him. You're right. That's on the org because he didn't get the one.
And I could kind of expect what happened tonight. Like they're throwing the ball out of play with not knowing how many outs there are. That's the big one.
Yeah, and you got to know how to close your glove. You've been playing baseball your whole life. You know how to close the glove.
Yeah. No. Again, that's what I said. I think multiple things.
He looked like me out there when I'm playing with my daughter.
There was a kid sitting behind us in the bleachers. And it was like, I would have caught that, and then he was saying too, he's like, I would have hit a home run off that pitch, 450 to dead center, and I was like, okay, you're like 10, bro. That was hilarious. I was cracking up. I know how it was. I was. Yeah,
it's hard. I mean, you're right. Intrinsically, I am being knee jerky to a degree, but it's the degree of how ugly those.
This is why you text me first.
That's why. I mean, you're right. It's just I'm venting to you about it because it's hard to have two worse errors. Yeah, it's hard to find two worse errors.
He's got to relax. Like Khalil Watson said, after his bad start, he said, I was giving the pitchers too much credit. I was saying these guys are really good, but he's like, I'm also really good, and I've also done this before, and it's the same game, just at a different level. And he relaxed. He got the first hit, and it was okay. I think Cooper Ingle's just got to ease up too. He's got to forget the mistakes. It happened. You got to move on. You got to get better. Also, want to say this. Probably if they would have lost, I would have led with this. But the one thing that's been frustrating this whole stretch without Jose and Angel and then for DeLauder for a little bit is they've been playing pretty fundamentally ugly. Base running, like DeLauder left early on a 3-2 count and got caught. Defense has been ugly. Like
Manzardo getting caught on that double play wasn't ideal. It wasn't.
Yeah. So when you are missing guys like whether it's Jose or Angel or DeLauder for when they did, you've got to do the little things right. You've got to run the bases right. You got to play defense. You cannot give teams an edge. You have to cover every margin, and they haven't been doing that. And it feels like a little bit missing there from Kai Correa and Craig Alvarez. Those are little pieces of details that I think this team had done better the last couple of years with or without their big names.
Yeah, I think they don't have and I think Vogt kind of needs someone who can be okay challenging him, and while the other guys have experience, they don't have experience working with him directly. And I feel like
they brought in his twin brother. His twin brother can't
But the twin brothers, and it's hard to be the guy in a new environment challenging the big boss.
It is.
It
is.
I think they're missing some of those guys who had some history of, and in the big. I mean, his twin brother was his boss at the last stop, so there is some experience with it. But I do think they're missing that.
No, you're thinking Andy McKay. Andy McKay was Tony Arnerich was in the dugout with him, but McKay was in the front office, and he's now back in the dugout because he wanted to get back in the dugout. So you're right. Like McKay is the guy you're thinking of. He was kind of his boss, but he's got relationships with both those guys in the past, but it's always hard to integrate new coaches. And there's just little bits of details that sometimes you don't have that you did before with guys like Albie and Kai Correa. Like Kai Correa was the infield wizard in San Francisco, and he's the infield wizard down for the Mets who stink. And I thought he would take over for Carlos Mendoza, and he hasn't. But I think they miss those guys. And I think, again, you got to pay attention to detail in these little things like Cooper Ingle and just defense like Arias and whatever else. So, all right, let's spend the last couple minutes talking draft, Jeff. Do you have any names you're like dying to throw out there? Like we've been back and forth about how we wanted to do this, and I think we'll probably get into more of it next week when things get closer. Because I know I said like we maybe spend a day where we talk high school hitters and a day where we talk college hitters and all that jazz. But I think right now you're just interested in throwing some names out there that are interesting to you that you think people should know about in terms of the Guardians.
Well, I'll say this: like I am struggling to make my list. It's the 10 to 25 range is ugly. Like guys that I did not like. I always have been like poo-pooing on your love of Tegan Kuhns. Tegan Kuhns is in my top 20. Sawyer Strohsteider is in my top 20. Like that's how bad this draft is. Like honestly, I don't know if their first rounder can crack their top 10 prospects. It's a bad draft. Like I've got Archer Horn in the 20s, and a normal draft he'd be in the 30s. Like it's just, this is not a good draft on any level. Trying to think who I moved up. Jack Natale from Cincinnati was like the last guy I was kind of bumping up as I wrote him up. One of the things that gets underrated with him is Cincinnati is in baseball part of the Big 12. I don't know if that's the case in football because I don't really pay attention super deep in football. But like that means he's facing a really quality level of competition. Transferring from Rutgers to Cincinnati, he's actually facing better competition in the Big 12 than he would in the Big 10. That's just the truth of college baseball right now. Natale played well in the Cape. He had a great combine. He had several throws over 80 miles an hour. I think I have him. He doesn't have quite the same exit velos as Carson Tinney. But Carson Tinney was also absolutely dreadful in the Cape, like absolutely terrible. Natale was great, and Tinney had to catch some better pitchers and some higher velocity. But Tinney is also really huge, and I mean at the same time, I've got Tinney one spot after him. It's not like I want to degrade him too much, but a lot of people have Tinney over Natale, and I think Natale's got a better chance to stick a catcher. Just doesn't have quite the elite exit velo. A little bit of better in zone contact as well. So he's a guy that like the Cincinnati kid. Who is probably the most positive guy I've written up recently. I just feel like every guy I'm writing up and then I'm dropping him and then I'm going back to some old guys to fix their stuff and then dropping them. And I'm like, my God, I whoever they draft at 19, it's like, I don't want to say I don't care, but it's just like, it's so ugly there. Like, I don't know anyone that would get me excited, honestly, this year at 19, weirdly enough.
Yeah, that's fair. I think it's definitely not a year. And that's why they traded the 29th pick, right? Because it's one of those years. Yeah, I like Tegan Kuhns a ton. Like he's a traits guy. He's got great stuff, and he had a phenomenal Cape. The Cape Cod League isn't what it used to be, but still pretty good. I still like Carson Bullman. Like I know you don't love high school pitchers, but I would
never take a high school pitcher there.
I like him. I mean, Tyler Bell's not going to get there, but I like Tyler Bell. And we talked about Tyler Spangler. You talked about Jack Riddell from Notre Dame the other day. I'm not opposed to him at 19 if you're going to push someone down the board. I know we had a commenter asking what does it mean to buy a player down the board, and I think you answered the comment, but essentially you offer him a bonus that scares other teams away and it drops him down to where you want to be because their agent's going to say to other teams, hey, we've got Cleveland who's going to pay whatever. Are you going to match that? If not, you can't draft my client, and that's how players get down the board. Could that be Rocco Maniscalco? Like he's an interesting dude. I think Connor Camo, getting down there. You and I were talking off air too about some college pitchers that are hurt. We both want Miles Bailey at some point in the third round or whatever. I do like Ruger Riojas from Texas at some point down there. trying to think who else we were.
Can I say this with Miles Bailey? My write-up on him, I talked about with his traits and everything else, after you get past the first 50 players, you got to consider him. But things are going so bad in my write-ups that I had to change that.
Keeps going up.
I had to change it to 40 today. I had to be once you get past the top 40 players, you got to consider that he's got some of the best exit velocity in the history of college baseball. You have to consider that. But I have to keep changing it. And then I got to be honest, the guy who I think they should take, the guy who would get me excited with that pick. I know I just said no one would get me excited, is Logan Thomas. And Logan Thomas has done it at every level. Texas Tech, again, a Big 12 school, elite exit velocity. Well, not elite, but very good.
Logan.
Everyone says he's got plus power.
Are you saying Logan Hughes?
Logan Hughes, not Logan Thomas. Okay. I'm sorry. Logan Hughes.
Logan Hughes.
Brain fart. But everyone says plus exit velocity, plus power, exit velocity, eye at the plate, contact skills. When I have my little percentile data sheet, he is top 5 in terms of contact. He does everything well. But unlike Devin Taylor, played in the Big 10, he's doing it in the Big 12. Excelled and Devin Taylor's done pretty well. And he's, he's sub 6 foot. He's a left fielder, first baseman. But that's a funny thing. I read you yesterday. I respect Keith Law, but I read you his profile and I'm like, where do you think this guy's ranked? And they had him in the 40s or 50s. It's didn't he just say he's a chance for plus hit and plus power? Even if that guy's a left fielder or a first baseman, that plays in the game today. So, yeah, I just put him at 10. I just moved Logan Thomas up to 10 because that's where he should be, if not higher. I'm going to eat poop for that because most people don't have him in the top 30, but that's the guy. So that's the one I would get excited about. This team needs power. Everyone agrees. He's got power. He's got hit.
He did well in the Cape. Again,
he did well in the Cape.
It's not what it used to be, but yeah.
There's not really a reason to not have him higher outside of the fact he doesn't have a position. But you know what? Most of these guys, Chris Hakapian doesn't have a position. He's not alone in this. And guys in the top 10.
So Monday's an off day. So we'll come back on Monday. We will talk about the Guardians and White Sox series for first place. The two teams are tied, so we come back. We'll see if the Guardians are in first place. If this gets them off to a good start, it's definitely a great start. They overcame some bad decisions. They overcame some goofy stuff on the field. They get a big win. You get into the White Sox bullpen early. We like that.
In the end, that walk-off is one of the best moments of the year so far.
Yes, it is. It is. That win on Sunday was huge, and then this is another big one too. So we'll get back and talk about that on Monday, and then next week we'll do a mailbag. And if you've got some question with the draft, whether it's a specific player, some draft questions in general, drop those too, and we'll continue to incorporate that into our draft talk as that comes up next week.
Yep. Thank you for watching, rate and review. Download daily.
Name and random Guardian / White Sox.
Yes, do that in the comments below. Have a happy 4th. Give me ideas to help my daughter actually rank.
Keep all 10 of your fingers.
No, every year is a bike decorating contest. My daughter every year gets frustrated because she doesn't make the top 5. So give me ideas. Put your ideas below. Let me know what my daughter can do to win.
Keep all your 10 fingers.
I am not putting fireworks on her bike as she goes around. I would like her to.
Not you. I'm saying everybody else who lights off fireworks. Keep all your fingers this weekend.
Yes, keep your fingers together. Have a happy 4th, and go Guardians, go.